Large-scale events that attract a lot of attention create a certain mental coherence, which seems to be reflected in what's going on in random generators around the world. So that's one thing of interest. The second thing of interest is, and we noticed this first when 9/11 occurred, we analyzed it very closely to see what was happening. There were 37 random generators running that day. You go into the data and you look at it over the course of the day, 9/11, you find a very unusual statistical structure in the data. You find a 6 standard deviation change. It's as though if you think about the results of this experiment like a bell shape, we're constantly recreating a bell-shaped curve. That's what the statistics look like. And we're interested in how does the bell ring? How does it swing? How does it vibrate over time? That's the way that a way of thinking about the statistic. On 9/11, the bell rang extremely loud. It swung hard in one direction and it swung hard in the other direction, basically. And then we thought, well, that's unusual. So we compared it to other days. We started comparing it to more and more days around 9/11, and it turns out that 9/11, within the year 2001, was the loudest ringing of the bell. Well, it was probably also the most focused day of attention for 2001 and maybe since then. The other thing that was interesting is that the bell started to swing before 8:30 in the morning Eastern Time. It began to swing noticeably before the events unfolded, which suggested something like a premonition. There was something beginning to build statistically that then basically exploded at when the events unraveled, but something was a premonition. People ask me, why does quantum mechanics matter, given that it's little tiny stuff and who cares? There are 3 possible answers. From a practical point of view, it doesn't make any difference at all. I mean, you still have to go to work and drive your car and do all the rest of it. From a second point of view, it infiltrates everything in the world, especially the world of electronics. When you go to the supermarket and you do the scanning at the checkout, that's a quantum mechanical effect. But I think the important part is the third one, which is essentially a philosophical issue. Why are philosophers so passionate about deconstructing the assumptions of the world? I finally got it. I got it as a result of looking at quantum mechanics and comparing it to classical mechanics. They present 2 very different ways of thinking about the way that the world works and about what we are. So from a classical perspective, we are machines. And in machines, there's no room for a conscious experience. It doesn't matter if a machine dies. You can kill a machine. You can throw it in a dump. It doesn't matter. If that is the way that the world is, then people will behave in that way. But there's another way of thinking about the world which is suggested, it's pointed to by quantum mechanics, which suggested that the world is not this clockwork thing, but it's more like an organism. It's a highly interconnected organismic thing of some type, which extends through space and time. In that kind of environment, what I think and the way that I behave has a much greater impact, not only on myself, but on the rest of the world, than it would if it was a classical world. So from a very basic point of view having to do with morals and ethics, what I think affects the world. That's, I mean, in a sense, that's really the key for why a worldview change is important. you.